again?
Nope. Recording in progress. Hey, everybody. Welcome to xTreme Talk 2021.
Are we going to start with the pledge?
No, we don't have that information.
I pledge allegiance to.
Okay. So far what we've done is we have a Raspberry Pi. I've taken the SD card and put it. I don't know what I just unplugged, but it was something I wasn't supposed to. Got one of these, right? So I've got the card in here. What
is your screen frozen? All we still say is this meeting is being recorded. But
That's your screen.
That's your screen.
That. But the background, he's saying like he's moving around, but I just see your background.
Can you see me? Yeah.
Now we can. Yeah.
Okay.
No, it was just your desktop. Were you clicking on something when you're talking about Baylin Etcher?
Probably not. No.
Okay.
I was just sharing this. Can you see this on the camera?
Yes.
So I got the SD card. I got the reader. I'm going to plug it into my computer. Bloom. That's in. And then somewhere you should have the image file that you're going to use to image the SD card. So we're not even turning on the Pi. No reason to even have the Pi plugged in. It does not matter. A lot of people still like to use the SD card formatter. It is not necessary when you have Baylin Etcher. Baylin Etcher is going to format it for you anyway. And once I find Baylin Etcher, that I'll drag right over here, that's Baylin Etcher. That is a free download. So when I click on this, it's going to say, cool. Where's your image? And where's the drive that you want to flash? So hopefully you have already gone to FPP, to their Facebook group. And at the very top, there's an announcement about the new version that's out. And at the bottom of that, there's a link to download the image. It's a fairly hefty size download. So once you have this, you have your SD card in your reader. You click on your select image. Mine's in my downloads. It's right here, FPP image, right? 5.0 image. Click on that, and it's going to say, okay, great. That's 3.98 gigs. That's quite a bit of information. Select the drive. I'm sorry?
This is the new 5.0 for Pi?
Yes.
And you have to do it this way?
No. The word have to, this is a way I'm teaching people who have never imaged.
Oh, installed FP. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So now I'm going to select the drive, and I am looking for this one right here, which is my 128 gigabyte card. So I'll select that, continue, and then we flash it. And it says, hey, we're about to totally jack up everything. So this is very important. Before you get to this point, if you already have a configuration file, let's say that you've got some really old.
I do have one quick question before you get too far in.
Yeah.
Recommendation on SD cards.
I don't care. Get a good one. Get a good one. Don't buy a cheap piece of shit SD card, then bitch because your system doesn't work.
Yeah.
Whatever's on sale at Costco.
Class 10.
Class 10 SanDisk. You cannot go wrong with the Class 10 SanDisk. I promise you.
Class 10 SanDisk or Class 10 Samsung.
Yes, I would agree. The Samsung. So this guy right here, that's a SanDisk. You can see it. And then I also have a Samsung. I have never, ever in my life in this hobby had a problem with a Samsung or SanDisk SD card, micro SD card in this hobby ever. I've had problems with others. It's because it was just what was available at a store at the time. But that was 5 years ago before Amazon was so cool. All right. Before you do this, it's probably a good idea if you have your configuration set up for your panel matrices, whether you're on a Pi or BBB, BeagleBone Black, it is a very good idea to do a backup of your configuration. Don't do like I did a couple weeks ago where I accidentally erased everything on what was set up for my P5 panels. Now I've got to redo it. Or I'll go find the configuration file that I saved somewhere along the way last year. But once you have that, we'll click continue. And yes, and it's starting. And so this will sort of just take a while here to do this because it's 128. It's going to kill everything that's on there, and then it's going to flash it and put the image on it.
Ron, can I ask a quick question?
Now is a good time to ask quick questions, by the way.
So as you're going through this, would you actually recommend doing like 1 or 2 of these to get the same image or to have a backup? Or would you, I'm just curious because I know that sometimes if I buy it on Amazon, you end up getting, it works for a short period of time and then it goes bad. Would it be beneficial just to do 2 at the same,
I think it depends on how many you have. If you're making a backup, I mean, this entire process yesterday took me 12 minutes from start to finish. So we're not talking about an exorbitant amount of time to flash it. So in my case, Balin Etcher, I think, is capable of flashing more than 1 hour. I think you can flash the same thing onto another SD. You might even be able to do them at the same time. I'm not sure. I've not tried that, but maybe I don't know if it's possible. Can you maybe install load 2 Balin etchers or etchers?
Well, I'm just curious because if you do this one and then are you better? You're going to set up your FPP, get it all taken care of. Are you better off making a copy of the make an ISO out of it, or are you better off trying to copy all your image? Because I've had FPP go bad on me, and then I'm stuck trying to remember all of the. I try to get as much as I could downloaded, and then try to save it. But then if I lose my FPP, I got to go through all this, redo the configuration, redo the upload, redo everything.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that. So when this is up and running and we throw some things at it, we'll go over how to back it up and then how to restore it.
Are we able to answer your question about Balin, Ron? You can flash up to 8 without really slowing your system down as long as you have 8 readers.
Yeah, that's not bad at all. That's awesome.
Are you able to do this over the network or no?
Do this over the network? What do you mean?
You can update FPP from your device if that's what you're asking. That's one approach to do it, or you just do a full new image.
Well, Dan was or Culp was recommending doing a full wipe.
That's what he's doing right here. Yeah, that's what this is. You can't do that over, but like you're talking about, can you do that over the network? Well, you can't wipe it, so you can't connect. So
yeah,
you can do an update, but it's not going to be a full wipe.
Yeah, because you wiped it, you couldn't get back to it to redo it.
And this is another reason for me, for my show, I choose to have a separate Pi player, one for my P5 and one for my show, is because it's easy for me to grab this from the garage and do a complete flash if there's something catastrophic that's gone wrong, or in the off season like now, I want to play with things. It's not really in the controller. It's very accessible. But if you already have 4.6 or you have a version that's not too far back, you can do a straight update from your system and it will bring everything in. It's just sometimes you might have less issues if you do a complete installation like this.
Especially on a major upgrade, going from
a clean.
If it was 5 to 5.1, don't worry about it. But if
right,
6 comes out, do a full wipe.
Yeah, if 6.0 came out yesterday, we would be doing this process. Now, just because we're doing this process from the beginning, you're going to see here in a minute, and you can see here we can flash another if we wanted to. But this is done, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to close out of this. I'm not going to just ignore all this stuff about them complaining about the flash drive and it needs to be updated. What I'm going to do is take this SD card that's been flashed and I'm going to put it into the Pi. So anyway, so I've got that plugged in. I'm going to power on the Pi. Little lights on. I can hear it starting up. And when you do this, your last Pi might have had a static IP address of 192.168.1.60 or whatever. When you do this, there's a very strong chance that DHCP is going to kick in and give it an IP address that it thinks is suitable for your system. And so what we are going to do here is what I like to do. There are tools that you can use like Angry IP or advanced IP that will simply just go look down the list of everything you have on your network, and you'll see FPP on there. What I prefer to do is just use xLights. xLights has a wonderful way of finding out what Pi is going on the network. And if xLights does not see this Pi, then there's something wrong, potentially either with the network or your installation. And that's sort of just the way it goes. So if we click on Tools, FPP Connect, this will go out and discover any instances of FPP. And right now, here's .41. I have never used that number for any of my Pis, ever, 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 ever. 61, yes. 60 and 61, absolutely. So I know that's .41. Thank you, xLights, for your help. I'll bring over an instance here of 41, 192.168.1.41. This brings up the first interface we're going to see with 5.0, initial setup. So when you see this, the first thing it's going to ask you is, hey, your SD card's got quite a bit of unused space. We suggest that we maybe expand the system for your storage partition. So we say, absolutely, let's go do that. And you'll go in here and you'll say, grow the file system. Just this, it's that simple. Growing the file system will require you to do reboot. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. Yes, yes, yes. So we do this, and it says, great, we have done that, close, and now we must reboot. Yes. Okay. And we'll give this a moment to reboot. I think you'll be happily surprised at just how fast the reboots are on these things.
So the flashing and of the SD card hasn't really changed, because obviously for Apples we use Pi Baker and all that.
Right.
That's still all valid.
Correct. Yeah.
And is this process so I understand that you can do this with a Pi or a BeagleBone, right?
It's the same. The only difference is the ISO or the image is different for either platform.
And then the follow-up
time. Your reboot time on your BeagleBone is going to be a lot lower than on the Pi as well.
Yeah.
So be patient with a BeagleBone.
Yeah, that was my follow-up question. So I know, but beyond the Pi being developed in Britain and the BeagleBone being developed in the superior United States, what are the advantages to one over the other?
The place of manufacturing.
Well, it's funny you should mention that, because you can see the time zone here thinks that it's in Europe, London. It's not. If we look up time zone, it quickly changes it to America, Los Angeles. And so we're kind of set there. The rest of this, some of the things that you might, there's, by the way, I can hit finish setup, but if you look over here, there's only two modes, player and remote. And sort of what's neat, and I haven't messed with this or tested it, but what's neat about this is there used to be a bridge mode. So if you had it in player mode, when you played, you couldn't play real time out of xLights and have anything turn on outside. You had to put it in bridge mode. That will now work whether you're in player or remote mode, from my understanding of what I read, which I think is remarkable. I think it's really, really cool. But let's finish the setup. So right now, settings change, restart FPPD. That'll come right back up real fast. No big deal. Give it a second. There we go. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So we have nothing in here to play. There's no shows. Probably the first thing I'm going to do is get this into a network setting that I prefer. So I'm going to go to my network right off the bat, and I am going to tell this that I want ethos 0 to be static, and I want this to be 192.168.1.61. We'll go with this. That's my gateway. That looks good. Update interface. Okay. It's going to ask for, typically it will ask for a reboot. So let's restart network. Yes.
I don't think it asks for a reboot on that.
It may not. So let's.
I don't think it does on the network update.
And let's get to 61 and see if that held.
There you go.
No, it's not there yet.
Oh, it isn't?
Mm-mm.
Initial change, it's recommended you hard boot your Pi or BeagleBone on an initial network change.
Yeah, because I thought I remember yesterday it's showing that. So what I'm going to do, because I did do this, is 61. Also, if you have a host name FPP, change this. Call this, what do we want to call this? We can call this test master, for lack of a better term. DNS, I don't know. I'm probably going to put this one definitely will. So if I put in this for a DNS, update DNS, this is going to say, hey, man, you need to reboot. So let's reboot. Give this a moment. When it reboots, we should be able to see this come back up in .61. So it will be a static IP address. As it's thinking. And again, another great way, if we're not sure what it's taken, we can always go here and discover the instance. And this will show us, it is 61. Beautiful. Thank you again, xLights. What a wonderful tool. Okay.
Where was that again, Ron?
That is in xLights Tools FPP Connect, which we're going to be going to this in just a moment anyway to push some things to it. And this just tells me the IP address that it found for the Falcon Pi player. So now we have the correct configuration for our network. We have the correct configuration for where we belong, what part of the world we're in. The next thing, this FPP, let's say that we just want to keep everything that we've done here and never lose that. Now, granted, if I were doing my input, output, and configuring this for a matrix and everything else, this is the tool that you really, really want to use right here when you have everything set up and you want to be able to do a quick recovery. So in here, there is a backup, and all you have to do, the defaults are all. If you only wanted to back up your overlays or your output processors, and I don't know why you would, or only your plugins, you could. But all you do is you download configuration, and this puts it in your downloads. Give it a name. It's I think it's got a date in here somewhere. Put this away somewhere and be able to go back to that. Okay.
Yeah, I recommend doing it like at the beginning of your season, right before your show goes online, so that way you have the most current. Always back it up, and your devices as well. Your controllers.
Yep. Now, if we were doing this from scratch and we had that configuration file that had all the stuff we've done to this to make it work for our show perfectly, when it's time to restore, you would choose that same file, and then you have to decide, am I going to keep the existing network settings, or am I going to go with what's on the configuration backup to restore? Okay, so you have a couple choices here to make when you do bring that in.
Hey, Ron, just to backtrack a little bit, you were saying you didn't know why it would let you select just different things up top to backup. That was actually a feature request. So if you're setting up a whole bunch of these, and you only want the specific information, so you can flash that to several without having the network set up, all that in there. That way you can set up multiple cards.
Yes, absolutely. That's I'm glad you said that. Like choices, like xTreme sequences, sequence club membership. We always give you choices. We never pick your sequences for you. You're old enough to do that on your own. All right, and back. Okay. That's my first commercial during training. I love it. I'll have to cut it out now, though. All right, for the rest of this, let's just take a quick little perv at some of these things here. Network, we did FPP settings. Of course, this is where you can do all sorts of fun things with your audio, video, your time, your UI, your email, MQTT, if you're into that kind of thing, logging, what you want to log. And then at a default, I believe this is reporting back to them. So if you like reporting stuff back to help them figure out what might be going on, that's never a bad thing. Our content setup, which we have nothing. There's nothing in our sequence files, no audio, no video, no scripts, logs, none of that. There's nothing in our inputs or our outputs. It's sort of just empty. But some other cool stuff that's up here is FPP, idle, and this and that. But there's one big thing that we're really missing. What have we forgotten to do?
Upload your sequence.
No, this. See, everybody thinks, this is a funny thing. Everybody thinks that once you do this burn in, you're done. No. Always go to help and click on help index. Oh, wrong one. Hell's bells. Where to go? Oh, that's the one. Just click on about. This, I think some things are moved around. What you're going to see over here is that we are on FPP version 5.0. We want to be on another version. There is a version available. See, it says update is available. Click update FPP. Let it run. And this is fairly quick too. Although in the notes, they say that this could take a while. So mileage may vary depending on your system. But yesterday, this seemed to be pretty fast. And it's restarting, update complete. That to me seems like a pretty fast update. And that's it. We'll come back over here to status page. I'll go back over here to help just to make sure. Is there anything else? Nothing is available. CPU utilization 34, memory usage 1.39, no big deal, no playlists, plenty of room to put a ton of sequences on there. And here's our version. And here's the platform. We're on a Pi 4. Here's the temperature up here. It's idle. We're using a wired connection. Here's the date. And again, on a Pi 4. So this is ready to be put in to action. So now we can go over here to our xLights and say, hey, you know what? Let's throw some sequences up at this puppy. So we'll click on FPP Connect. This will discover what's there. Cool, that's the one. Let's put on here a tsunami, and sure, we'll put on 2. We'll send media, and we'll send models, and I'll tell it all for the first time for UDP out. I don't have a playlist on there, so that's coming. So we upload this. I typically leave these alone at whatever their defaults are. And then one more time. And done. So now what we have in our content setup for our file manager is we have Tsunami, and we have an audio file Tsunami. No videos that I know of. So there's our sequence with music. I don't know what the other thing was. It probably wasn't even a real sequence. Okay, so that is basically just getting the information there. If we look at our input output, we can see that there's nothing on the output. If we look at the well, hello, here we go. Here's our output. We have enable output. It's wired, and here's all of the controllers, none of which are hooked up. So we're going to get all these crazy errors, but I do not care. If we look at the channel inputs, that's not going to show anything. If we look at the E131 specifically, it's just not going to show us anything. If I enable input, it would, but there's really no reason to do that. So we basically set some things from xLights directly to the player to be a main player. Now let's see if it's set as a player. Run FPP, it is in player mode, so that's cool. So you see all these here. This is telling you, and this is going to be a great, this is not the first time we've seen this, but this will tell you what's not connected that should be connected. Okay. If you see red, then something's dead. Something's not plugged in. You've lost network connection. The controller's turned off, and you can go figure out which one that is. You can also go up here to multi-sync and see all the other various controllers or pies that would be on here that need to talk to each other and whether they are or are not. But that's okay, because at least for now, we can create a playlist, new playlist. We'll call this Christmas 2021. So cool. There we go. Randomize off. There's my playlist. On your playlist, you tell it, okay, I want this sequence with this music. They line up perfectly. And we'll just say fave. I don't know what that's going to do, but it doesn't matter. And we click add. So now we have our first sequence and our first playlist ready to go. At that point, we go to our scheduler. We can create a schedule and say that on this date, let's just say November 26th, every day. Start time, why don't we start this at 6:30 in the evening. Playlist.
Good morning.
Sequence, Tsunami, and we want it to end at, let's just say, maybe not. Let's just say 10 p.m.
You're going to wake up the neighbors with that setup.
You got 6:30 a.m.
Hey, you know what? It's my show.
Welcome, Stephen, to the show, everybody.
There we go. So, all right. So there we go. And you can tell it, if it's 6:30, you can say, plus a couple minutes, so if I really want it to start at 6:33, okay, fine. There's 6:33. Why you got to be weird about 3 minutes is beyond me, but they've given it to you. Repeats immediately and ends gracefully, which means at 10 p.m., it's in the middle of Tsunami. It's going to finish the song. If you say, no, hard stop, middle way through Tsunami, your show shuts off. I don't recommend that. I recommend this. Also, if you just want to play the whole loop again, even though it's 10 o'clock, you can do a graceful loop, shut down, and that's all you need. You click save. We come back over to our status control, status page, and you'll see down here that our playlist is right here ready. We click play, unable to play. Well, I don't care. Hold on. We got to click this. We got to click the sequence, then click play. And there we go. Rosa, are the lights on outside? Are the lights on outside? She's going to look. Just kidding, Rosa. We don't have any lights out yet. All right. Anyway, stop now. So the beta version I had of this wouldn't let me get this far. It certainly wouldn't play anything. They were still working out all the kinks and bugs and stuff. But from what I can tell, the user interface on this is to die for. Big, bold, super easy to navigate. If you want to go down to your effects and start putting things in, you want to put in big buttons. I mean, it's the plugin manager is seems pretty easy here. You want to put in a big green button, install it, you're done. Big button, install it, you're done. You got to configure it. And I don't do a lot of this stuff anyway, but I don't know, man. To me, this interface just looks super easy to navigate. And this is why I use FPP. It may seem like there's a lot to set up when you're doing it, but not really. I can tell you, I was running my show last year and able to make changes to sequences and upload it to this while it was running, and there was no hiccup. What questions do you have?
So I noticed that it says CPU in Celsius. I don't know who in their right mind ever would understand Celsius. Is there a way to change that to the proper Fahrenheit?
Awesome.
My God. Yeah, I'm well, probably.
I understand Celsius.
Eric's just setting you up for the recording. So tomorrow you're going to hear all kinds of hell from
yeah, I think if we go in, well, we can go into our settings and see if I'm sure there is a way to change that. Default, resolution, longitude, latitude, player, global, locale. I don't know, to be honest.
The UI. What if you put USA?
There we go. UI. Oh, there we go. No, header. Boom. Done. There you go.
Awesome.
Okay.
That is
Happy
so
Eric.
much nicer.
The winner's display unit.
Well, I'm glad I got
Now,
to be here and on the recording.
now, Rue has no idea if that is on fire or he's going to freak out and see with those temperatures and shut down his show. Also, the UI colors, they've given you the ability to change these. There's also a UI password. This is probably not a bad idea if you got some hackers in your neighborhood. Certainly, if you're running some of the other features where you're allowing people to vote or interface with your Pi in your show, it's probably not a bad idea to put in a password. Okay. For me, I don't really worry about that, but it is what it is. Also, if you want to get into the advanced, experimental, or developer versions of this is a lot easier to find than it was in the past. They put it right at the top here now. So if they may be working on things that are only in the advanced, you can get to that. You can also change the formats for your date and time. Again, because you have Eric that may just go, I hate the way that works. And yeah. Real quick, also, if you're going to put a Play 3 on here, it's probably a good idea that when you put that in, plug it into the USB on the Pi, you will see a different choice in here that will say Play 3 Sound Blaster. That's what you'll choose so that you're playing out of your Sound Blaster to get better output for sound. All right, cool.
Yeah, I just got here. Can you start again?
Yes, absolutely. And your display testing, I would caution you about this. Do not let this be the only thing that decides whether something is working or not working in your show. I found this out the hard way last year. What I did like about this, before my show, I would come in here and enable test mode, and I would just sort of put it on one of these chase cycles, and it made everything outside look really warm and cool. It was just sort of a warm-up nothing. I didn't use a sequence. I just wanted some sparklies on. So display testing does really well with that. So I think that's kind of cool.
I was going to say, Ron, I like the screen too, because you can check those models one at a time if you push them up to the...
Yes. So the model testing on the left, if we do, we can, if I only want to test Arch 1, because this is actually a pretty important thing. When we're troubleshooting at the controller level, we're troubleshooting at the xLights level, we're troubleshooting at the player level. And they all three have to be in concert. They all have to understand that this Arch 1, we all agree it starts on output number 6712. That's where it starts. So everybody has to be on the same page. And so while test mode turns on the damn thing, it doesn't tell you that it's got the right channel number, not by a stretch of imagination anywhere remotely close to that. No. So then what do? You're like, okay, well, I'll go into test mode on the controller and tell it just to turn on that arch. You're like, okay, yeah, the arch turns on. Then you come in here and you turn on like, oh no, it's turned on some other things too. So just know that this is one of the tools to test. It needs 100% pass score in the controller, xLights, and here. But if this is off and it's working on the controller and the sequence plays back, don't worry about this being off. There's just something else that's not quite right. But again, it's just another tool. I'll find out this year just how close they really are. But this does give you that start channel. So if I've got this here and in my next window, I've got my controller window open and I'm looking at the start channel of the Dazzler 1 and it's off, we've got a problem. We need to figure out why in the hell is this looking like this here with the start channel, but on my controller, it's off by 3 numbers. Then you got to go look at xLights and say, whoa, what's going on in xLights?
That's where the +3 and -3 helps out a lot, Ron, trying to find the exact channels. Because you can hit the +3 and then go out there and look and see, oh, okay, I need it to go up 3, down 3.
Yeah, and I would be careful about making those intermittent changes in here because, when you push your show to the player, it's going to overwrite what you do here. This is just for testing.
Yep, and that's just for testing too. So if like say you're trying to find out what the start channel is, so you can use the +3 -3 to find the exact start channel.
Yeah. Well, and if you're using the Auto Magic in xLights, this really should not be an issue. If I'm using auto size and I'm using auto layout models, and this information is pushing to that controller, then what I see in the Pi player should absolutely have these output numbers. Those should not deviate. So the only way you get more comfortable with this and the troubleshooting is experience. You've got to break shit to fix shit. And all the new people, you are going to do just that. If this were a controller, you'd have your pixel strings here. You have your Pi hats down here you can choose. If you enable them, your LED panels, this is where we do all our configuration for the LED panels. And that's all here. And if you get any of the Gilbert Engineering panels, you better let them know, because there's some coding that has to change in here to give the correct size, because those, I believe, are 40 by 40. Is that right? Yeah. But we know how to do it, which is pretty cool. All right. That's all I got for you. We can take any other questions you have offline, and then I'll try to get this video out as soon as possible. Thanks, guys.